Morning, everyone. Welcome to Friday. Happy Friday. So I'm just going to take you through sort of my method every morning. It's the same thing. So first I look at the TPO chart. I look where we closed, right? And then when you do this manually, you get a good sense of where everything is located. Now, so as you're doing this, when you move the close, and we use the 5 p.m. close, you'll see that the overnight inventory is or was short because the value area or the cost basis is underneath the close. Now it is correcting upwards, right? That's what inventory does. When it gets too short, it moves up. When it gets too long, it moves down, right? So you go through the chart, you mark these things. Now, when Sierra chart opens up, it shows the previous night. So when you click that, you go reset to default, boom, there you see the gap. So there is a gap here, right? As well as our massive, massive gap here. Okay. So we have two gaps underneath us, right? The first one is over 70 points. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a massive gap. That is not normal. Okay. So if a gap means change, the bigger the gap, the bigger the change. Make sense? So we know something has changed in the business, right? When one day opens 70 points higher than the other, and then you have single prints here, which is like a gap in the middle of the day, and then you have a gap at night going into the next day. Now you know something's a little off. Okay. So after a day like this, right, we've had Fed, Schmed, all of that stuff has taken place. What's our next move? Well, all of the inventory in this current market is underneath 59.15. What does that mean? Anyone who's long size for any kind of duration, okay, is long underneath where current price is trading. So Raj, being the good merchant that he is, immediately says distribution, right? We are distributing this and what we bought down here in these 4 days up here. Yeah, that's a massive. This is a skyhook that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar would be very proud of. That is a Kareem skyhook, right? That's when you take it and you throw it up because you're taller than everybody else, right? If people don't know what a skyhook meme is, that's it right there. Raj, this has been the ultimate short squeeze for 5 years. I have never seen a short squeeze. And you know why it's the ultimate short squeeze? Because 99% of people who are even professionals don't even know that the squeeze is happening. They think this is normal, right? Or they're clueless. And the best stock market operation is one that you can get away with and nobody even knows, right? They have all these different theories, asset prices and data. Asset prices are locked up because the large funds own everything and they're not selling them. So you have an inherent lack of supply, right? Nobody has you'll never hear anybody on CNBC say that. You'll never hear anybody talk about And then I talk about it. They're like, "Oh, you're a supply and demand trader." I'm like, "What? You not? What, what are you trading out there in outer space or something like that where there's no supply or demand? You're on another planet?" Everyone is a supply and demand trader, okay? Everyone is an inventory trader, even if they don't know it. So we know there's something different. We have a massive, massive short positions, which will explain why the overnight profile is so tight. It'll explain why the volume's only 39,000 contracts, right? It's not out of incompetence, Phil. It's out of something that we have adopted in our society, which means if it's simple, it can't be true. You have people who go to school and spend hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on education, and I'm not knocking it, but they can't trade their way out of a wet paper bag because they think it can't be as simple as buying a bunch of cheap crap and selling it at a higher price. They think markets are correlation and all of these things and standard deviations and all this really highly complex math where it's not. Anyone who's ever worked in investment banking knows that you create product to sell, right? What's the point of creating a mortgage-backed security or taking a company public if you can't sell the stock? You got to think about it. So anyway, we've got a tight profile. So number one, as soon as you've walked through this, you're going to go, oh crap, it might be a bit of a crappy trading morning until things break loose. We'll see, right? Right. So now we know that. Let's go take a look at a closer look. There's our high from yesterday in L period. The M stops are here. The overnight high is right where it took the N high. There's the close. There's the value area or cost basis, right? We are 14 wide at 6,005. I can't believe I'm saying 6,000 on the S&P, right? 14 wide with volume. Volume and time line up. Now we're taking this cheap crap and we're selling it up here for a profit. Why are we selling it up here and not higher? Well, because we don't have the buying to sell it higher. When you have product, you sell it where you can. Does that make sense? So if you were long 1,000 contracts here, right? Say you're long 1,000 contracts. Okay. Well, and your cost average is, let's say 6,000 at 4, 6,000 at 5, somewhere in here. Okay. That's because that's where the majority of the inventory is priced. Duh, right? Well, if you sell those 1,000 contracts between 7 and 8, what's the math on that? 3 points on one E-mini is $150. Multiply that by 1,000. Now, do you guys understand the economics of it? Does it make sense? Welcome, welcome to wholesale market making. Okay? That's that's what size traders do. They pick up 500 to 1,000, right? They build their position here, and then they have offers. As soon as the market goes, you get taken out, take it out, take it out. You sell your 1,000, then you go to sleep, right? You make your 150 grand that night, and off you go. Okay, so that's why we have cost basis here. This helps us when we go look at a candle chart. Okay, when you look at a candle chart, what are we trying to do? We're trying to establish cost basis. So if I draw a look, there's the position right here, right? Now we're going to take that position and sell it for profit. So there's my balance. Now my balance, this is another thing. How do I find balance? Right? I look for a high and a low. And then when we look below that high, low, we go right back to that high. When we look above that high, we come right back to that low. Then we go right back to that high, right? That is two-sided trade, and it shows the acquisition or distribution of a position, right? So there's our cost basis. We're going to double it. There you go. Now, VWAP is always set at 6 p.m. Eastern time at the session open. Now, I know there's Kentucky Fry VWAP and Cool Ranch VWAP and all these different VWAPs, but just use one when you're learning how to trade so you don't look at 300 different things. Keep it really simple. VWAP is at 6004, 6005, right? It is session VWAP. It is what most of the institutions use. Institutions, when you're working a 5 million share order, you don't have time to be resetting your VWAP all over the place, right? And people, anchored VWAP, there's nothing wrong with it. But I want to use the VWAP that everybody else is using because that's where the transactions are. Now we're set up, we're ready to trade, we sit back and watch. Got it? Very simple. So this would have been a nice trade here. This is a little look below and fail of 6005. So the levels, let's see how they work now. Is everybody with me? This is the morning prep. You do the same thing every day. Okay? You do not change a thing. You don't use lines, you use boxes. There's a reason why we use boxes because it shows more clearly where the zones are. Okay? Once you start making money, once you start making 500 to 1,000 a day consistently, then you can start modifying things. But trust me when I tell you this, if you do exactly what I tell you to do, and you'll do this over and over again, 500, 1,000 times, you're going to see that it works. Don't defer from it. Don't change anything. Don't just do. I've spent since 2012 figuring this out for like literally 18-hour days for like straight 5, 6 years at one stretch. Right. So don't change it. When you modify things and you don't have experience or skill, you're going to get into trouble. Right. Just keep it simple and just do exactly this. Now you'll see we're going to put in a new overnight high. The next set of stops is 60, 10 and 3/4. So let's see if we can get up there and take that stop. Yeah, and once you start doing this, it becomes a habit. Everything you look at, you're going to look for balance, right? So here's a chart of some deal my girlfriend wanted me to look at. As soon as I see this, whammo, balance, whammo, balance. You can see the balance. As soon as you see stuff, you're going to automatically look for balance, right? You'll automatically start looking at balance zones. Practice it on equities. Practice, practice, practice. That's what I did for months. I would just draw balance zones. I didn't care about even taking trades. Why would I put money at risk if I didn't know what I was doing? Makes sense, right? Now you think about it. What's the point of putting money at risk if you have no clue what you're doing? It doesn't make common sense. right? There was one trading educator, and this guy used to be a CME guy, and he charged people like 3 grand for a 2 or 3 day seminar. And he would tell them, it's okay, you need to lose $300 a day trading. Well, if you do that for 20 days, you're down 6 grand. What's the point of that? You don't know what you're doing, right? And people would like fly to go attend this guy's webinar seminars, pay him 3 grand, and just for 3 days, and that's it. No after sales support, right? And this was before evaluation accounts existed. This is before the micro existed. So you'd be like, yeah, it's okay. Just lose 300. 300 is your stop limit every day. Well, what if you only have a $3,000 account? You're wiped out in 10 days. And trust me, you're not going to learn how to trade in 10 days, right? So all of this stupidity has to be undone, right? People have been taught so blatantly, criminally wrong, right? I consider it criminally wrong to teach someone how to trade poorly. I think that should be a criminal offense because not only are you are helping them destroy their life. They do. I mean, I saw it when I was doing penny stocks. You'd do a deal and a guy would pull off 40, $50 million in a deal. The SEC would hit him with like a $2 million fine without admitting or denying any wrongdoing. Okay, right? It should be a criminal offense to not teach somebody properly when it comes to money. There are no rules, there's no regulation, there's an SEC, there's a CFTC, there's nothing that governs trading education. I'm not a regulation guy, but I think it's criminal to charge people who work hard for their money for bad education. That's a scam. It's an absolute scam. Anyway, off my soapbox, back to price action. We're creeping. Now, here's the problem with this kind of price action. Okay. It looks weak, right? It looks weak, but Phil's got it. The offer seems unwilling to come lower, right? See how the bid drops, but the offer moves up. Ha ha. Right now, right? Now the bid will follow the offer, right? This is the kind of price action that you don't want to short because of electronic trading, right? Slow markets do not mean weak markets. And unfortunately, my friends, that's how they get you every time, right? Because the market just has a lack of order flow at the time and it kind of starts creeping higher and then it stops and then it goes up and then it stops. Then it does this nonsense where you get, look at these candles, right? So you get one, well, let's see, 5 minutes of this barcode, right? That means don't trade me, right? That is like when you see like a wasp's nest on the side of your house, don't go up to it and poke at it. All right, just leave that alone. All right, just leave it alone. All right, let's see what happens when let it opens. We want a look above and fail or a look below and fail. This horse poop, we don't want to have anything to do with, right? Take your bar chart and shove it up, where the sun don't shine. Hey, CM, how you doing? Long time no see. Lurking? Good. Lurking is good. Well, say hi every once in a while, right? We want you to be price action snobs, right? It's your money, right? Do you want to go shopping in Beverly Hills where the pretty sale girl brings you a Kappa Frappa Mocha Latte Chino or whatever? Or do you want to go shopping in the hood where they steal your wallet and throw you in a dumpster? This is dumpster shopping right here, right? You're going to get rolled. Fire away. Trying to catch the top on an all-time high day? Well, it's a good thing it's only paper cuts and it's not like big sucking chest wounds or something like that. Is it fair to have a long bias? Any bias is fair as long as the order flow supports it. How do you like that? I could run for politics, eh? Right? Any bias is fair, right? So there's a reason you really shouldn't have a long bias, but here I'm going to try and help you reason through it, CM. Right? You've heard me say that, hey, not a lot of people want to play because there's a lot of people who are trapped short. There's less order flow coming in the market. That means there are less customers coming in the store. What do we have for news today? Do we have anything big today? Raj, any margin increases? I don't think there's any margin stuff going on. Okay. So there's not that much data. There's just a lack of interest, which I mean, I can't blame them, right? I don't feel like buying size. If I started to put on large positions now, my clients would think that something's wrong with me. JJ, what the hell's wrong with you? What are you doing? What's going on? Right? So, bias. Let's talk about bias. right? So CM, say you're short biased, for example. Okay. If you're short biased, the market has to take out these lower stops. So say, for example, you're short here, right? You shorted 6,008.5 or 6,000. Say you're short here, right? If the market can't get under yesterday's close, you got nobody selling, right? And your stop would be the overnight high. Like if you were a gun to your head, I've got to take a trade. So I'm short 6,008. My stop's the overnight high. And if we can't take out that K low, that trade ain't going to work. It's that simple. If you're long, right? I'm long 6,008. My stop is the close. My target is the overnight high. And if the market can't take out the overnight high, I got to bail out of my trade. Does that make sense? That's how you keep your bias in check. You got to keep your bias in check. Your bias, you got to question your bias, okay? It's okay to question your bias, and it's okay to be wrong. You're going to be wrong a lot, right? Right? Okay, so say you don't have TPO and you're short, okay? Right here, 7.5. If the market can't take out 7.5, there's no reason for you to be short. Make sense? That's your first level, right? Then here, 6.5. So say you're short here, you go and you stick a buy order at 7.75. Now watch the offer. That as the offer raises, you know that you're hooped, right? If we all we have to do, my friends, I sound like a politician. All we have to do is use a little common sense. Get rid of all the mumbo jumbo that they feed you and look at a market from a common sense business perspective. You'll be blown away at how good that is. Hey, what's up, Johnny? University of Michigan, right? Wolverines? Every time I see that University of Michigan, you know the song that they play at the football games goes through my head. Da, da, da. Has nothing to do with markets, of course. But yeah. Anyway, common sense, ladies and gentlemen. It's all about common sense. If you ran a business, you would use common sense, right? Got to use common sense in trading. You don't have to use TPO charts. You can take the lessons from TPO charts and apply it to candles. The only place that TPO charts have a distinct advantage is single prints, poor lows, poor highs. That's pretty much it. Okay. Everything else, you can use volume profile to get a sense of cost basis. And you can always ask us where the single prints are and mark them on your candle chart, right? It's a friendly room. You can go, hey, where are the singles? Somebody, I hope, would say, okay, the singles are from here to here. You mark it on your candle chart and you know to look for responsive buying or selling depending on if their singles up or down, right? So you'll be blown away at how much good information is on a 1 minute candle chart. Just blown away. So London's opened. What do we got going on? It's adjusting inventory lower like it loves to do. And taking out the lower stop. And we'll probably come right back to 6,004-ish. So had you been short, your stop would have been here. One of your bids would have gotten filled here, and the other bid would have gotten filled here. Now, is this a look below and fail of 6,005 3/4? Let's see. Right? Your immediate response is to want to buy it when you see a green candle. Don't. Let it play itself out and let it see if it can come down. Give it some time. What we're doing now is we're finding the bid as London opens. Could be, could be, could be a look below and fail. Where did we come down to? We came right down to that point of control, right? One tick underneath, they stopped selling. Give it another couple of seconds. and see if that candle holds, right? Do we hold 6,005 3/4, right? So if you did go long, if you did go long, or you're thinking about going long, right? Your stop is going to be under these candles, but you want to wait. Why do you want to wait? Because from this period of time to this period of time, right? There's time, right? From 7:19, so for like 45 minutes, we've distributed. It might take more than a couple of minutes to clean it up. Now you see evidence of it cleaning. Look at the lows are getting higher. The offer is moving up. So as that happens, then you initiate. Warning level, stop, right? But are you waiting for this or are you going to sell into strength? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Quickly, right? Got to sell into strength because you know there's a seller sitting here at that blue line waiting. So if you're not that quick, give it some more time, right? Give it some more time, right? If you miss the trade, big whoop. I miss lots of trades. Do I care? No, right? There's always another trade. You know how I learned this? I learned it doing deals. When I was a deal guy, right? I was always worried that, somebody would offer me work and I would think, oh my God, if I don't take this work, I'm never going to be able to, I, how am I going to live? Blah, 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 blah. And I'd get involved in deals and they were just absolute shit with people who are horrible, right? And then I learned, sometimes it's okay to say no. Not every opportunity is a good one, right? Not every opportunity is a good one. And I learned that from doing deals. The same thing with deals can be attributed to trading. Not every trade, you don't have to take every single trade. It's not necessary. You know, and there's a lot of deals I wish that I had not participated in because the guys who were running them were absolute idiots. But you'd sign on because you thought you were going to miss opportunity. Exactly, right? There's always another trade, there's always another deal, or there's always another opportunity, right? And as my uncle Barry would say, opportunities like a bus, right? You can't catch the next one if you're caught under the wheels of the last one. All right. It's probably going to sit and go sideways here for a little bit. Because there's not much follow through, we have to sell into strength. So once again, now what am I looking for? I'm looking for the market to go sideways in this area. Look to see where those bids come in, where the wholesale puts in a position before I make a decision. Right? Old Uncle Barry, first guy who ever gave me a job. And that was his one of the first things I learned. First thing I learned was, opportunities like a bus, there's always another one. Right? Just don't get caught under the wheels of the last one. And the other thing is never pay for stock because they give it to you for free. Yeah, you're right, Phil. Repetition is the mother of skill. You know, every day somebody, says, "Hey, JJ, this doesn't work. I did it. I did it religiously." You got to do it. Sometimes, everybody learns at a different rate. I took years to figure this out. Years, right? And I came off an institutional trading desk, right? And it took me a long time, right? Took me a long time. Okay, I'm long at 5. I'm long at 6. Just a couple of micros, and I'm offered at 7.5. They're taking me. They're taking me at 7.5. I got 3 left. Lost one at 7.25. I got 2 left. I got 1 left. Out at 7.5. It does take a long time. Now that trade I have screwed up so many times, folks. Right? And the thing is, when you see people do it, it looks easy, but it's not. You don't see the years and the months of work that they put into it. And and once again, I come back to doing the same thing. I have people who I've taught and I tell them just do what I tell you to do. And then they veer off of what about this and what about that? And I read about this and I read about that and I read about this. And I'm like, just keep doing what I told you to do. But what about this and what about that and what about this and what about that? And I don't think that way. And well, you know, maybe it's time to go do something else. If you can't take instruction, go do something else, right? You have to be able to take instruction from somebody who knows what they're doing. The problem is by the time people get to me, they've just been completely fed a whole bunch of bad information, right? It's simple, but you got to do it 1,000, 1,500 times. Phil just told me something. He said, it's repetition. It is repetition. It's doing the same thing over and over and over again, right? Yeah. Indicators, I don't know anything about indicators, Phil, because I've never used them. So I don't teach them, right? And they don't use indicators on trade desks, right? When you're working out a 5 million share order, you're not using an indicator. They're not using uh, MACD, right? Or any of that stuff, right? You got to build your process. You got to build your ability to react, right? and you got to keep it simple. Someone was asking me, they were like, well, I read about unfinished business in Dalton's book. I'm like, just take that and just put it on a shelf right now. Okay. Right. There's no such thing as unfinished business. Right. All of these euphemisms, get rid of that and worry about where the frickin' bid is. Right. Keep things simple. It'll keep your life simple. I guarantee it. Right. Watch the offer. Do not short a market when the offer is moving up. Do not buy a market when the offer is moving down. It cannot be any more simple than that. Learn how to develop your concentration. You must be able to concentrate on this for at least 5 minutes without checking your phone, without looking at the VIX, without looking at a footprint chart, without looking at an indicator. Can you watch? Can you draw a line? And can you watch how the offer interacts with that line? And can you do that for 5 minutes? Then build it out to 10, build it out to 15. I can watch this chart for 6 hours. I don't have a problem. I can watch a screen for 6 to 8 hours without looking at anything else. Why? Because my job depended on it. Right? There were 300 to 400 people waiting in line to take my clients. I had good clients. Like one client would make you $20,000 to $40,000 a day in commissions. Right? Do you know what kind of competition there is? When you got a guy who feeds you 20 grand solid a day in trades, in commissions, in orders, there are people just lined up waiting to take your client. That's why you don't take holidays. That's why you don't lose focus. Now you are the client. You are your own client now. How can I look at a chart and know where the selling's going to be? How do I know where the selling's going to stop? It's focus. All it is focus. There's no magic behind it. Right? I failed biochemistry twice. Would have helped if I had gone to class. So I'm not a genius, right? I failed biochemistry and and calculus the first times out, right? I am not a genius, right? But I can watch the offer for 6 hours nonstop. Maybe breaks to go to the bathroom, but that's it. Now watch 10. See if we can offer and print 10 quarter, right? Just takes time. Just takes time. That's all it is. So, what is the practical aspect of this? Had we been long, if we were long here, we knew that there was going to be a seller here. So we would sell before the seller here gets to knock the market down. Does that make sense? What is the practical aspect of knowing this? Right? So say you're long here on a look below and fail, you know there's going to be a seller here. So why would you have a six? Why would you have an 11 target when you know that everyone else is selling at 9? Right? So you manage your expectations. You're long 6.5, 7. You're out at 8, 9 on a couple of contracts. And here, do you take a trade? No. This is where your trade is. That's it. Right? Your trade is the look below and fail. Right? Here it looked below and failed, but if you had an offer here and it didn't get taken, then you would get out of your trade because you know that the trade's not going to work. Right? And you admit, okay, you know what? It's not ready yet. Then it does this other dip. It can't get down here, comes back up, comes back down. You might get suckered into it here, and that's okay. You just cut out of it. And then it goes, right? Because there's a constant seller here. And we had to clean out this seller before we could go up. What does it mean to clean out a seller? It means that there are people selling at that level, and you want those people to sell and get rid of their product at lower levels. That's why when a market cleans out a seller, right? That's why it rips higher. That's why there's this space here, because that is the overhanging inventory that has been taken out here and then resold here. It's really simple, right? Don't make it more complex than it is. Okay, that's it for me today. Good stuff, guys and ladies. Have a great night, morning, wherever you are. We'll see you in RTH. Those that we won't see in RTH, have a wonderful weekend. If you have questions, DM me. I got to run out for a little bit, but I'll be back. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. And we'll see the rest of you in Globex. Bye for now.